Many years ago, in the dusty side of Lao, a small town which was not too far from Jalingo, there lived a skinny girl named Shakirat. But because people in the town loved to twist names and make them spicy, everybody just called her Shaki. Shaki grew up with her auntie, whose mouth was sharper than pepper soup spoon and whose hand could twist someone's ear from across the room. Her parents had passed when she was little, so her auntie took her in, not exactly out of love, but because she needed someone to help her with hawking, cleaning and chasing chickens back into the compound. As such, from morning till night, Shaki would be on the street selling fried yam and pepper sauce, sometimes puff puff when market was favorable, and other times just pure water. She also endured insults from rude customers who didn't have money to pay, but somehow, through all the struggle, she remained hopeful. She would see people drive by in big cars, women with shiny wigs and strong perfumes, and she would say to herself, one day, them go see me for town and call me big girl too. Every morning, she would stand in front of her mirror, pat her face and say, "You are beautiful. Your only problem is poverty, and poverty doesn't last forever." Years later, she finished secondary school, and when she got her certificate, she used it to fan herself under a mango tree because jobs were like loyal boyfriends. You could only get them by connection. So, one day, after her auntie insulted her for using too much stick instead of one, Shaki snapped. She tied her Ghana must go bag, put 2 wraps of garri inside, added a sachet of salt, and with one last look at the compound, she said, "City, here I come." She entered Jalingo like a movie extra who had no direction and no connection. On the first 2 nights, she slept at a motor park, hugging her bag as if it was her boyfriend and listening to conductors shout, "Wukari, Zing, Shunkani." By the 3rd day, she found a small kiosk job where she helped one woman called Auntie Patience, who sold cold drinks and hot gossip. It was in that kiosk one sunny afternoon when Shaki was restocking malt bottles that 3 girls walked in like breeze. They walked in confidently with eyelashes that could blow out candlelight and hips that walked as if they had somewhere to go, even when they didn't. The girls were Juliet Wells, the ringleader with bleached knuckles and one long acrylic nail she always used to point at people when talking. Tino Pretty, the fine one with gap teeth and cracked voice like a tomato seller, and Kefas Baby, the tallest of them, who always said baby after every sentence, even when talking to bus drivers. They didn't come to buy anything much, just 3 bottles of Coke. Then they talked and laughed out loud. But Shaki noticed one thing: they looked fresh, soft, expensive and unbothered, like people who didn't know the price of rice. After they finished gossiping and disturbing the air, they noticed Shaki watching them. Tino looked at her and said, "Fine girl, why are you hiding your beauty inside kiosks? Are you afraid of success?" Shaki laughed nervously and said, "No now, I'm just helping my madam." Juliet Wells smiled and said, "You are wasting here. This your hand is supposed to be holding better things, not to be arranging malts." And just like that, they started talking to her. They told her about the night's game, how men were plenty in Jalingo, how small shakara and waist beads could change your life, and how if she followed them, she could cash out sharp. Shaki was interested but scared. She had never even gone close to a man before, much less doing runs, except that one time a man from church tried to touch her waist and she slapped his hand out of reflex. But Juliet assured her, "Babe, na hustle, you go dey alright." So she followed them that evening, not to walk, just to observe. They dressed her up with leftover makeup, gave her a short dress that refused to zip completely, and sprayed her with a cheap perfume. That night, Shaki saw the city in another light. Jalingo was no longer dusty and slow. It was full of lights, loud music, hungry men, and sharp girls who knew how to smile with their eyes while calculating account balance. She didn't make any money that night, but the spark had entered her soul, and that was the beginning of her journey. At first, she was slow. She didn't know how to swing her waist or say, "Oga, see full package" with confidence. Her accent still betrayed her and made men laugh. But small, she started to earn 2,000 naira a year, 3,500 naira there. She even bought new slippers and small earphones to look urban. And just when she thought she was finally getting to the level of her mentors, something changed. One by one, her mentors started leveling up. Juliet now wore real human hair. Tino had a talking stage with one rich Abuja man, and Kefa's baby got invited to hotel rooms she couldn't even pronounce. Meanwhile, Shaki was stuck in 2,000 naira level. It got to the stage that they stopped picking her calls. Even when she tried to greet them on the road, they would act as if her suffering had body odor. Shaki was confused. She didn't understand what was going on. What changed? Was it her face, her waist, or her lipstick? Worst of all, market was beginning to slow down. She was struggling to get customers, and she even began to beg the men to patronize her at discounted price. Some days, she would wear her shortest dress, perch by a bar, and smile till her cheeks hurt, only for one man to offer her only beer and peanuts. Still, she continued to go out each day to hustle, hoping for the best, until the day her village people embarrassed and mocked her at once. That night was very hot that even if you were not moving, your back would sweat so much. Shaki had been standing on the same spot for almost 2 hours, adjusting her brass strap, shifting one leg to the other, sipping sachet water as if it was wine, and trying to smile at passing cars. But nobody stopped. Not even a madman came to say how much. She was tired of pretending, tired of makeup, tired of smiling like generator that refused to start, and most of all, tired of how her friends, those same girls that introduced her to the streets, were now too big to even wave at her. Juliet Wealth now posted pictures inside AC rooms with captions like "Soft life or nothing." Tino Pretty had blocked her on WhatsApp because she chatted her up to borrow wig from her, while Kefa's baby had joined TikTok to drop motivational quotes like "Don't be available to everybody, be expensive." But here was Shaki on the same roadside with same cheap foundation and same body spray that finished last week, but she kept the bottle to spray ordinary air. Just as she was about to carry her tired legs and go home, a rickety Toyota Camry with a broken headlamp slowed down. The driver leaned out. He had big tribal marks and a small mustache. He waved her over with full confidence as if he wanted to pay in hard currency. "Fine girl, you dey available?" he asked confidently. Shaki quickly smiled and walked to his side. "I dey. Where you wan go?" "Just short time. I no get strength for overnight," the man said. "It's 5,000 naira," Shaki replied fast. He hissed, "For this economy, na 750 naira I carry." Shaki blinked. "Eh?" She laughed small, thinking he was joking, but the man opened his door and said, "Enter first, you sef go enjoy am." Shaki stood there confused. She looked left and looked right. Maybe someone was holding a camera. Maybe the man was testing her dignity. But no, there was nothing like that. The street was quiet, just her, the audacious man, and one big rat running across the gutter. She looked back at him. "Oga, you say na how much you get?" 750 naira gasikia, last price. Just look at it like a promo night. After all, you will still enjoy the thing. At that moment, something inside Shaki snapped. Something loud and sharp like when a pot breaks and everybody in the house keeps quiet. She didn't even reply him. She just turned and walked away slowly, as if someone just cancelled her future while the man drove off. That night, Shaki entered her small self-contained room in silence, dropped her bag and sat on the bed. Then she started staring at the ceiling as if answers were written there. 750 naira, she said to herself, as if saying it out loud would make it sound less disrespectful. She looked at her legs, the legs she used to run errands from age 10. Legs that had climbed Okada in rain and sun. Legs that had danced Bacardi on roadside just to attract one customer. Legs that nearly dislocated when she tried doggy for the first time. The same legs that had never entered a plane but had climbed 5 flights of hotel stairs. And now, one man looked at those same legs and said, 750 naira. Tears started falling slowly. Not loud tears though, silent tears. Those kind of tears that roll down your cheeks as if they were ashamed of you too. She lay down flat on the bed and sniffed. Is this how I would die in this city? That night, she didn't sleep. She just tossed and turned as her mind did long calculations. How many more nights like this will she continue before she runs mad? Was it her fault that she didn't know how to seduce politicians? Was it a crime to be slow in leveling up? However, by morning, her eyes were red like palm oil and her heart was cold like fridge when NEPA forgot to take the lights. She picked up her phone and called Juliet Wells. The phone rang once and Juliet picked. Babe, please, I need your help. I want to level up. I don't want to be left behind again. Please, I will do anything. Just don't say no, Shaki begged. Juliet was silent for a moment before she smiled and said, Shaki baby, I am more than ready, Juliet, Shaki begged. There was silence on the line. Then Juliet laughed slowly and wickedly, like someone who had just won something. She said, now you have arrived. Come to my place by 3 p.m. Let me take you to who the airport shine. She ended the call. Shaki stood up, looked at her reflection in the mirror and told herself, no be me them go leave behind again. By 3 p.m. that afternoon, Shaki had already changed her clothes 3 times. First, she wore her fake Versace crop top, but the armpit was torn and one thread was already dragging like a stubborn destiny. She removed it. Then, she tried her black gown, the one she usually saved for sugar daddies with potential to pay more. But it had one big stain that looked like the map of Taraba State. Finally, she wore a red off-shoulder top that squeezed her small chest and one tight jeans that refused to zip completely. She used scarf to tie the waist and told herself, at least if Juliet sees me like this, she will know I mean business. She sprayed the last drop of her perfume, Sassy Romance, a roadside perfume that smelled like orange mixed with rat poison, and then she stepped out of her room. On her way to Juliet's place, her heart was beating fast. She didn't know if she was going for upgrade or slavery, but all she knew was that she didn't want to return to 750 naira insults and dry nights. Juliet lived in a mini flat inside one compound in Nukai, and when Shaki entered the gate, Juliet was sitting outside on a plastic chair, filing her nails and listening to music from her phone. She wore a big bonnet, tight shorts and a slippers that had fur on them. Immediately she saw Shaki. She stood up and smiled mischievously like a mentor ready to lead someone to the promised land. Shaki baby, are you sure you are ready? This one no be for small girls, so I am ready, Shaki said, even though her voice sounded like a goat that just drank cold water. Juliet looked at her from head to toe. You will do well. Your body is okay, but you dey fear too much. That is your problem. She called a taxi and they both entered. The ride was short, about 15 minutes, but to Shaki, it felt like they were heading to another dimension. They stopped at a quiet street in Magami. Juliet led the way to a bungalow that looked normal outside, but inside, the living room was painted blood red, the curtains were thick black, and the air smelled like danger. One corner of the room had framed pictures of women in seductive poses. All of them were wearing white with strange-looking beads. Shaki sat on a leather chair that made a creaking sound anytime she moved. Then, Juliet knocked twice on an inner room door. Minutes later, a chubby and fair-skinned woman came out. Her arms were fat and her stomach looked like it had eaten 3 people. Her eyebrows were drawn with a pencil, but one side went up, while the other went down as if it was asking a question. She wore a wrapper tied above her chest with beads on both ankles and a tiny white scarf on her head. She sat on her chair, looked at Shaki and smiled like someone who had seen the scene before. "This one na first time, ma?" she asked Juliet. "Yes, ma. She's hungry for breakthrough." The woman nodded. "What is your name?" "Shaki." "No, that is your street name. What is your real name?" "Shakirat Musa." "Ehen," the woman nodded. "You will make it. Your face is round. Your eyes are sharp. Men will fight to sleep with you, but first, you must do the work." Shaki swallowed hard. "What work?" The woman smiled again. "Very simple. I help girls shine and men pay them millions. I have clients from Abuja, Kano, even Cameroon. But you must bring something to unlock your own wealth." Shaki nodded. "Anything. I am tired of being poor." "Good. What you must bring is 10 used condoms." Shaki blinked. 10 used condoms, the woman repeated, now sounding like a principal announcing exam timetable. "Not just any condom. It must be from men that have slept with you, and it must still have their full offering inside." Shaki's mouth fell open. She looked at Juliet, who just smiled and looked at her nails as if this was normal information. The woman continued, "You have 7 days. When you bring it, I will use it to prepare your oil of permanent attraction. After that, rich men will chase you like flies on ogiri. Some will pay millions just to smell your neck." Shaki scratched her arm nervously. "But men don't even sleep with me again. Last week, I didn't get even one customer. How do I get the condoms to start with?" The woman laughed and brought out a small brown bottle. "Take, rub this on your chest, thighs and tongue before you go out. You will see what will happen. Even gate man will propose to you." Shaki held the bottle. It smelled like burnt onions mixed with something spiritual. Juliet stood up and dusted her feet. "Oh yeah, now, you've heard the terms. If you like, delay. Me, I have already collected 5 million naira this month. I don't chase clients anymore. Now them they chase me." As they left the house, the woman called out, "Remember, 7 days. Don't let the oil waste. The spirits don't like waste." Back in her room, Shaki held the bottle tightly as if it was her last hope. That night, she bathed with hot water, rubbed the oil, painted her lips red like danger, and stepped out. She had no idea how she would get 10 used condoms in 1 week, but she believed the oil would help, and it sure did, because in just a space of 4 days, she already had 7 used condoms sitting pretty in her handbag. She knew the remaining 3 would be easy to get, so she wasn't bothered one bit.